Thank you for joining me on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, AZ. I find the research and resources and then provide the fire service with the so what, now what, to ensure the health and well-being of every member of our profession. Together, let's thrive. Hey everyone, it's AZ, and you've landed on the Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast. This is episode 166, and this is part 2 of my interview with my new friend, Arati. And we had some special guests stop by, her chief, her paramedic student, and then several members of the crew. So this is a great episode, and we are going to try to figure out how to do a fundraiser. We need to raise $2,001 to get Arati to eat a donut. More to follow.
Sorry, I'm coming.
Listeners, we're back with my friend Arati and a special guest. Arati, would you like to introduce your special guest?
Absolutely. This is my chief. Sorry.
We just got a field demotion.
Okay, I just got off a call. But this is my chief, Jansen Casals.
So great to have you. Arati, you may not be aware of this, but the whole entire time you were gone, we were talking and recording. So who knows?
So good.
Who knows what might appear on a recording. One of the things that we talked about, my dear, I understand it's going to take $2,001 to get you to eat a donut.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking maybe we could do a Fire Rescue Wellness Podcast fundraiser for the charity of your choice, and hopefully raise enough money to make you eat a donut from Glazed and Confused.
Oh, that would be so good. There's one corporate fundraiser that I would like us to target specifically. Sherman Air Services. He's the lieutenant here who also has a successful side business that a lot of us are employed. I'm not employed there. I would like to work for his wife, Kim. But yeah, Sherman Air Services provides the majority of that funding for this charity.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought you were looking for another target of charity.
No. He should supply the majority of this fundraising money for this $2,001 donut.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, this is calling out on so many levels.
Arati, I don't know anything about like any of this GoFundMe or anything, but we're gonna figure it out.
Sounds brilliant.
And we're gonna get Sherman Air Services.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, I just need to know, what kind of donut would it be?
I already pointed her at Glazed and Confused.
Oh, yeah.
Glazed and Confused,
Glazed
yes.
and Confused is just, they make confections of biblical goodness. So they have something called a Dizzy Pig, which is a maple. I know, the chief is like, how does she know? Because my kids are allowed like a once a month donut. Like when they grew up in Hawaii, they're allowed once a month Spam, which is a delicacy there. But if you eat it every day, it has no health or joy benefits. And I think food should have both, or one or the other. Food should be healthy or it should be joyful. Occasionally it's the both. So once a month Spam is once a month donut in the Central New York region.
Okay. Glazed and Confused, the pig donut. I've got it. Arati, the chief and I were talking about health and wellness interventions, and he said that you were a bit of the unofficial nutrition and fitness and mental health guru. Let's be honest. I want you to tell me all about that.
I can tell you about my first day here, the things that I was so nervous about. I think the one that I was like, instead of like, my whole philosophy is don't worry, just work. And the one thing that I was really worried about and I wanted to work at was food. Like, how am I going to feed myself? And I know firehouse culture is everyone cooks together, everyone shops together. But I was like, I know at the age of 43 at the time what my body needs to fuel itself. So I brought like oatmeal and fresh fruit for breakfast. And I remember Captain Hoham teasing me, and he's like, didn't you get the directive? Don't worry about the food. We work around people's dietary habits. And I was like, yes, I did, but it's my first day. And I know people normally bring donuts, but I just wanted to, take care of the meals for everyone. And he's like, so trouble listening to authority was his first thing. I was like, yep, that's me. But then I was like, I eat oatmeal every day. I can feed everyone, and everyone was happy. They had one less meal to worry about. But then lunchtime, I had made. You talk about my soup?
I did not bring up the soup at all. I was
so,
far more complimentary.
so I had made I love Thai food, so I had made like a tom kha gai soup, which is like coconut based chicken vegetable curry that has a lemongrass base. So, and then I had made rice because I was like, rice, even the gluten free people, everyone can handle it. And then I said, there's a warning about the soup. The lemongrass is for flavor only. You have to take it out of the soup. But in my nervousness, instead of long pieces of grass, which is what we have, I'd cut them up smaller, thinking that it was so handable. So I'm eating my soup and everyone's like, this is delicious. Like it has so many vegetables. And I look around the table and everyone, including the chief, there's like literal piles of grass next to their plates. I was like, I am never going to live this soup down. And so when I went to the fire academy, he was like, oh, like there's a really nice person from Norwich. He's going to say hi. And he was like, oh, the chief wanted me to say hi and say, and I was and tease you about some things. And I was like, is it about my soup? Like for me, that was the thing that I had done. But I think for me and I was on a day shift. So 2 meals a day, I just hijacked meal prep and planning. And for me, it was my way of feeding myself in a socially acceptable way in the firehouse. And then, I went away and then came back on 24 hours. And I realized I eat all the time. Like I may eat maybe every hour or every 2 hours. Like I'm not eating while I'm on a call with a patient, but I have one time I got stuck. We have a maze that we practice in, and I was just wearing practice gear and things like that. And the lieutenant wanted me to go through the smaller wall prop because I'm small, so I don't need to do a full escape. And he's like, I want you to go through the smaller one because otherwise you're smaller than most. And then I got stuck in it, and I was like, oh, I'll just turn. And then he's like, is it your bailout system? And then he patted my side pocket, and he was like, no, it's her snacks.
It's your
snacks. I had granola bars and almonds, and he's like, oh my gosh. But I think fueling yourself, and I know I started, people have sent me podcasts all the time. My dad has sent me podcasts, and I always say it was great, Papa. But he never really asked to have a two-way conversation. So when Captain Hoham sent me yours, and he asked me, well, what did you think? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to listen to, and I was great, but he was like, yeah, but the one about the creatine. And so I started actually listening to it. But even Dr. Kelly, when they were talking about nutrition, or people were talking about the 2 a.m., what are you eating and things like that. And the previous one to her. And I just thought food is so important to me in terms of making sure I have fuel all the time. Now the whole mantra is, I may not eat what you're eating, but I'll eat with you. But typically I've eaten before and after and during. By the time we sit down for breakfast, it's typically my third one. Just because I know I need it. I wake up, I know it's insane, but around 3:45 every day to get to a 5 a.m. gym class. So already between that time, I've eaten something. I've done Jocko Willick's is the unofficial nutritional. We all sponsor his business, but his greens in the morning, we're all making the best odds decisions regarding our nutrition. Sleep is always an interesting variable, but exercise is a non-negotiable for me. I was always a runner, and I loved yoga. It was my cup of tea. And then once I got here, I was like, oh, I need so much more. I need to be strong, and I need to give up the thin body aesthetic that I definitely was impressed upon me by, I'm sure, my mother's culture and just culture in general. And I was like, I remember always telling myself I need to let go of what my body looks like and just think about what it can do. And I had to hold on to it because initially as my musculature grew, I would just have to, I can't look at that picture. And then now I'm so stoked, right? But it took 3 years to get there, to be comfortable in your body and really be confident that it can do so much. And then I'm really glad I look strong, but yeah, there's a lot of support that I give my coworkers regarding their nutrition.
Artie, I just want to clarify. I want to clarify. You could not get through the maze, not because you physically were too big.
Yeah.
Your snacks were
Yeah,
taking
my
up.
snack pocket on the like small wall stud like got stuck. And it's not in my regular fire gear, so don't worry.
Not in my, as we talked earlier, 25 years in the industry, not my 25 years have I ever experienced a snack entrapment. Not
A
once.
snack trapment.
A snack entrapment.
But yeah, so that is the adventures we're on. And then yesterday, the deputy chief took the exercise class that myself, maybe there's 5 other people here at Manlius. There's firefighters from Fayetteville and the DeWitt who also go to the same class. So it's pretty much considered a semi-cult. But it really gets it done. Like in terms of like 45 minutes where I'm doing exercises that I don't want to do, that are challenging, and then they do progressive overload. Like they're coaches that I've been working with for this is year 3, and they see me 5 to 6 times a week. So they know what Arati can do, and it doesn't matter that she doesn't feel good. We're just going to make her do it anyway. And they like track where you're at. So it takes a lot of like, I wonder what, I'm going to do and how much I should lift. Like there's no mystery to it. It's just get it done. And it's very challenging. And I've seen great benefits to that. I still love to run. Like I do come out of that exercise class and I do my, I call it lung capacity check, where I just like quickly run a mile on the treadmill. And it makes me happy. Like running is just such a brain vacuum, like where the only thing I'm thinking about is keep running. And not like the millions of other things in terms of like laundry and what's for dinner tonight or anything else. There's no worries when you're running. You're just running.
So have you been able to make an influence on your coworkers' first nutrition? Let's talk about their nutrition. Have you brought any of your influence into the firehouse?
Can I jump in on that one?
Of course, Chief.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. Like we don't have a formalized nutrition or fitness program in the firehouse. And while I strive for us to have that, I think there's great value there. As you and I discussed previously, the needle move on culture feels far more important than what you can document in paper. On the nutrition piece, I will tell you, yes. And even to those that have no idea that she's had a positive impact. And I'll give you a silly example. There's bananas that sit on the counter due to Artie. Also you have people that would probably never eat a fresh piece of fruit if left to their own device. They're walking around eating a banana. It sounds silly, but those little things are absolutely moving that needle of culture without those being affected by it even realizing it.
And so every year, like I come up with a shift gift. Like year 1 for Christmas, in the name of my shift, B shift, I gave like the bays like a block rocker, like a speaker that could get wet and things like that. Year 1, I gave a rice cooker. I gave a rice cooker. Year 2 was the stereo. And then year 3, I bought like beautiful glass bowls, and I was like, every day 1 on I work a 24, I'm off a 24, and then I'm on a 24. Every day 1, I'm going to fill 1 with bananas, 1 with oranges, 1 with apples. I'm going to do this for the whole year. And I was like, it'll be around $200. One, I can't do math apparently.
No.
Because everyone was like $1,000 later. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll do it up to like $250. That was my max. But somewhere around the $200 mark, I noticed like fruit was being bought on the days that I wasn't even there. Like if I showed up for an overtime shift and I was like, oh, I can stop now. Like if people will eat like the bananas and apples and fruit, I feel like I'm happy because we snack on whatever's out there. So this morning when I came in, I love them. I'm so glad they exist. Girl Scouts, but I'm not so a big fan of the cookies. Come in. I was like, this is one of my coworkers, Zach. He is our greatest influence because he has a beautiful daughter named Eleanor. And we're super fans of Eleanor. She's a 3-month-old. And he's my paramedic preceptee student. So I show him what's boss.
Hi, Zach. And Artie, Zach, we were just talking about bowls of fruit, and Artie was talking about, bringing it, and just because she brought it, you guys ate it. But here's the thing. Dr. Jill Joyce at OSU did that actual research. She brought fruit and granola bars and almonds and things like that to the Stillwater Fire Department. And they ate like a pound of extra produce every
I don't know if I can vouch for it all being eaten. I know the bowls of fruit are there.
Oh no, are you throwing away Artie's fruit?
I ate a banana today.
He ate a banana today.
See?
In that rice cooker looks like it came through the war. It gets used so much.
Yeah.
I swear to God, the thing looks like it belongs in the sea, like living at 3,000 feet below the surface.
One day my lieutenant was like, the next thing you know, she'll have us all using chopsticks. And I was like, speaking of chopsticks, I have all these chopsticks. And he said, well, in order to get me use the chopsticks, you're going to hide all the utensils. I was like, no problem. And he's like, no balls. And the next shift I had, can I not say that? I'm sorry. The next shift, all the utensils, forks, knives, and spoons were gone. They're eating oatmeal with chopsticks. I sent photos. I was like, they were so upset, but the chopsticks still work. So there you go.
There's something to be said for eating more slowly.
Yeah, they were very not amused.
Oh my gosh. So you had a positive influence. Oh, how long did that $250 of fruit, like, what did you make it a month? How long was that?
It was like just 20. I went to Wegmans. I spent $20 at the first. So I maybe did it like 10 times.
Yeah.
So like
you're not good at math.
Almost 3 months. Yeah. 2.5 months. Yeah.
You're not good at math, girl.
No.
Okay.
This is your story.
It's my story. I was like,
You're talking about a little bit of influence on the nutrition.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Zach, did you just go get a milkshake? Is that what I heard?
I actually just told them I don't want a
Oh my gosh, I'm winning all the wars today.
I actually like exercise today, so it's in my head it feels like losing the exercise.
See?
Yeah.
See?
We were all in the maze. We're all sweating it out. And because we were all wearing gym clothes underneath, he's like, well, I'm already dressed for it. I might as well go run. I was sorry. Yeah.
Decrease the barrier to entry.
We have a beautiful gym here too. So we're very lucky.
Okay, so that was my next question. The chief said that was you could choose to participate both on and off duty.
Yeah.
Tell me about what y'all are doing to get fit.
I encourage everyone to join my cult exercise class. And even if they don't, everyone has somebody on the shift. I call them the instigator, who's like, okay, we're going to work out at 3. And typically if they do or they don't, everyone has a consistent exerciser on their shift. Every shift does. I noticed that. And so either you're joining in with them or you're feeling the pressure. A lot of people don't like to exercise in classes or groups, and they find their own space and time. But there's not a single staff member here who doesn't value exercise. And I think when you have shared values, you're all supporting each other, right? Everyone's supporting each other to be the fittest that they can be. And we all have moments where we're injured or we are not in the best shape of our life, or we're coming off of pregnancy, whatever it may be, that where we aren't the best shape of our lives, but the value is still there to get there. So I think that being in an environment that where you're not strange if you're focused on fitness is awesome, because it's a shared value among every single person who works here.
I love that you called it the cult exercise class. That's really amazing.
They're wonderful people. Yeah.
They actually drink Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. The chief is still here. I can't see him.
Oh, he's here. He's here.
Chief, will you tell again the story about your unofficial reference check?
You and I have talked about this. That at Artie's, so Artie interviewed with us once. I don't want to say informally, but you were broken.
Yes, I was broken.
When we canvassed, she reached back out and said, I'm very interested, but I'm not in a position to do it because of my current injury. I think we talked about it. Well, do you want to come in anyway just to talk? She said, yeah, that'd be great. So that was a very low-key scenario. Fast forward a time, I don't remember what the interval was, and we were going through hiring again. And so a much more rigid and formal process because I already had formally entered it this time. And so once we complete kind of our upper management level round, where it's a panel interview, we'll call the references listed by the candidate. And then we'll also reach out to associates that we have. I refer to them as like the unofficial references. So other people that we think may know the candidates and try to get a feel for them. And we typically turn to people we are very comfortable with because it's just a small world. So when it came to Arati, I reached out to somebody that I had a great deal of confidence in, had been in the industry for a long time, and just said, tell me what you know. And he said, well, Chief, let me tell you. Artie's going to be a completely different animal. And his point was, she's going to go on a run. She's seen some gnarly stuff. You had been in Syracuse working EMS for, I think, over a year at this point. You certainly endured some traumatic incident scenes. You will see more tears in your first weeks with her than you probably experienced in your entire career. He said, but hear me out, Chief. She's going to go on the call. She's going to handle the call. She's going to come back from the call. And she's going to fully express the emotion. Chief, don't we all need a little bit of that?
That's true. Bill.
Huh. Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. And as I expressed to you earlier, I already lived up to every component of that, has endured some traumatic events here that are just part of the job, handled them with grace and professionalism, and then came back and not only processed those emotions for Artie, but in many ways was the example for other people to see that it is okay to cry. It is okay to be emotional. There's a time and place. We have a job to do. We can't be in a puddle during the middle of the incident. But afterwards, aren't we all a little bit better off if we do express it, if we do roundtable it, versus putting it in a box and shoving it on the shelf, as maybe some of us more traditionalists have been cultured to do. And yeah, I think that sentiment has held through. We're about three years in now or whatever, and that 100% holds true.
Zach and I were probably on the worst call, hopefully we'll ever have. It was a triple pediatric stabbing. And for me, like a lot of us are parents, and it hit home so hard. And the one thing I didn't want to do was go home. I didn't want to go home to what felt like kids that were my kids are safe and well cared for. And I needed to like process all those emotions here with my coworkers. And we went through like the formal critical incident management, and it was a little too formal and formulaic for me to process what I was going through. And I remember folding laundry with one of my coworkers, and he said, Arati, do you ever pray? And I was like, that's all I felt I could do. Like, yes, we were doing everything we could. Our patient had their lungs completely perforated, and we're just sandwiching him together with pressure and trying to oxygenate and ventilate him while getting him to the trauma center. And I remember, please, God, don't let this kid die on me. Don't let this kid die on me. And that's all was my repeated thought, because I couldn't let go of his chest. Everything was just leaking out. And I remember telling another coworker who was driving, you need to go faster. And he's like, I'm going 90. And I was like, I can still see trees. You're not going fast enough. And
the fire chief does not condone the go faster.
No, he does not. He does not. And I was like, oh, I need to apologize to him, because I was so every second of that transport, and we were in a fairly rural area, felt like an eternity, where I just was like, he's not breathing. I could barely breathe. And then it was just very confusing, where we ultimately, like, I brought in my patient first, and they're like, oh, you have the 13-year-old? I was like, yes. And they're like, wait, we have another 13-year-old and another 13. And it took, like, we were on scene for such a short time because the patients were in such critical care and there were other elements involved. We didn't understand we were taking care of triplets, at the time. And I remember them giving me the paperwork for my patient, and his name was the same as one of my children. And for me, it was like everything started to hit, and I was like, okay, we have to head back to the station. And then being able to process those emotions with one coworker and folding laundry felt like such a saving grace. And then wanting to go to the next call, like wanting to take care of more people, just to feel like I could make a measured difference with like skills rather than I really was just praying for that kid. So having those opportunities where you like trust your coworkers, and since then, like Zach has been on a lot of critical calls with me, and it's just that I trust everything's going to be okay. Like together, we'll figure it out. And even if, we've had a lot of really critical calls where one of our patients had a dissecting aortic aneurysm, so there's no difference in blood pressures, and he arrested 5 minutes after we got to the hospital, and they like cracked him open and did all the surgery on him. But I was like, Zach, like he was saying, I'm dizzy, I don't want to go to the hospital. And I was like, something makes me feel like you should really get going. And I was like, imagine if we delayed with anything, like getting a stair chair, anything, I would have been at the back of the ambulance alone and not understanding why I couldn't, like this person's literally bleeding out and I'm not seeing any of it. So being able to like have those discussions and not feeling like there's ego involved. There's definitely some people, I have no hesitation to, hey, did I do this right? This is what made me think twice. And I think having like that level of like professional, healthy environment where you can be vulnerable in terms of like, I'm not quite sure what was happening, or I think I did my best, but can I just talk to you? Can I talk through this call with you? I think like is a really testament to the environment. Can I rewind all the way back to exercise?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Arati shifts gears quickly.
Yeah. So I think when you're in a firehouse and the first person in the gym who's running on a treadmill is your fire chief, it's a huge needle culture thing where, hey, if our chief is there exercising, sweating, and like not being an ultra marathon runner, but just doing his best, why aren't we? You know, like, and I'm happy to run next to the chief and everyone's happy to be in the gym with him. But he also sets like a great tone and example of just get it done, like stay the fittest that you possibly can. And I think that's super important. So
Artie, you just taught me, I'm going to fast forward. You rewound. I'm going to fast forward. You just taught me another lesson that I just have to keep learning. So there's a couple lessons I have to keep learning. The first one is always to make sure that there's toilet paper in the public bathroom before you go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
that's like a lesson.
Yeah.
I just have to keep learning it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't really care as much. Some of my coaches, they're good to go.
Great. The second lesson I have to keep learning is that sharing your story helps normalize a conversation. And as you were telling your story about your pediatric stabbing victim, I was transported back to my one and only pediatric stabbing situations. And it's just like, I didn't have the people to talk to at the time. I didn't have the people to process at the time. None of us did. None of us knew how to talk to each other. And so it's just so incredibly heartwarming that you and your coworkers are able to process your stories together. That's so important.
I really think it is. I think I don't know any other firehouse environment, but I can't imagine I would struggle so deeply, like professionally and personally, if I couldn't do this. Like my husband had gone to dinner with one of my coworkers and we were just talking about a call and he's like, my work life is so boring in comparison. And he's like, I don't understand half the words you two are using. And I was like, it's true. Your work life is really boring in comparison. But I don't need you to understand all the things that I'm talking about. Like, I need you to love and care for me as a whole person. But I cannot come home and like dissect this call with you because it would overwhelm you, or it's just, I want to use the word inappropriate, but it's also like, I want to be the most efficient in my everything, right? So I always say, if I have a problem, I go to people who can solve it. Like, I'm not going to just air it, right? And for me, like a difficult call isn't a problem. It's a learning opportunity where if Zach has a hard call, I want to know what he did, what was going on, so I can learn from it, right? And while he's discussing it, he's going through all the different things and all the different thoughts he's doing it. But it's also for my benefit. Maybe it's ultimately selfish that he's talking about it with me, but I can't go on every call. And our call volume is such that, yes, it is demanding. And yes, it's incredibly diverse, and the opportunities for like a lot of skill use is there, but it's not all of us at all the time, right? It's this shift did this. And I love being able to talk it all out and learn from those opportunities, because I'm not having all the opportunities. I'd love them, but only so many hours in the day. Yeah.
The 30,000 foot view from the chief seat, or the cheap seats, depending on how you want to phrase that. Our measure of success is our performance on alarms, right? Like that's our mission, that's our core values. Is the measure of our success is our performance on alarms. I think what gets us there is the recognition that it has to be a team sport. And so one of the most rewarding parts from my seat is to watch the team function as a team. And to Artie's point earlier, there's no ego. Relatively recently, we experienced a near miss during a building fire, during a residential building fire that resulted in a formal post-incident analysis. And at no point did any of our players internally express an iota of ego. We're open to, I want to learn. Tell me more. Tell me what we could have done different. Like, studied the audio as if their life depended on it, the recorded audio, to pick up on things that they missed in real time. To me, that was a great example of how willing the team is to set their ego aside, to simply learn from it. When, like I have experienced other firehouses where if B shift goes out and does an alarm, and A shift's going to come in the morning and just nitpick everything that they did wrong. And that really doesn't seem to occur here. And Artie, Zach, and others are a big component of that. I can only say things. They're the ones that actually help drive the culture in that, and to be open, to be ego-free, to be willing to make every day a little bit better tomorrow than it was yesterday. So I think these folks deserve a great deal of credit for that.
And I'm just grateful, like, we get to learn together, like it's still, calls are still new to me. And like I'm grateful. Like, yes, I'm Zach's preceptor in paramedic school, but for me, I feel like I'm along for the ride. Like, okay, what we're gonna learn today? And I have been asked for years, oh, do you want to be a paramedic preceptor? And I was like, absolutely not. And then when Zach I was like, oh, I want to do it for Zach. Like, like I want to do it for the one, like I trust this person. I want to see him fulfill all of his professional aspirations. And this is the one way I can help him, is to like oversee his work in terms of like developing this really amazing skill set. And so I felt, oh, this is how I'm super enthusiastic, but I'm not really like ambitious in the traditional sense. So like my enthusiasm over Zach, I don't even know his name anymore. Zach's like progression was what made me like, yes, I'll step up and do this, even though like I otherwise don't feel the need to self-promote or do anything like that. I want to make his dreams come true. So, because I already made mine. So
yeah. Artie, I want to bring two things to your attention. Number one, that's how they sucker you in. You are now a preceptor for the rest of your life. That's number one.
I'm only available for a few students. So no.
Number two, I'm not sure if you realized you said it, but when you were talking about treating that pediatric patient in the back of the ambulance, do you remember what you said?
Please, God, don't let him die on me.
And I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can. Yeah. It literally is the story of my life.
It's like, such a theme.
And like, I think about like faith in terms of like a firehouse. Like, we're not explicit about any one of our like spiritual faiths. Like, I definitely think we're all leave room for our own individual beliefs. And there's enough going on where, yes, we have a very endearing chaplain who prays over our food occasionally on Fridays. But I do think there's moments that suspend, like, are a little beyond even our scope and practice. And I think faith comes into a huge practice where one of our coworkers and his other main preceptor calls it the butterfly effect, and that's his way of like spiritually letting go. He's like, oh, any one thing leads to another, and he's like, oh, if I change this, would I have helped? No, something else would have, and that's like for him where his spirituality rests in the butterfly effect. And for me, it's very explicit where I am like, oh, please God help me, or please God help my patient. But I think firefighters are really believers, right? Like they believe in the greater goodness of the world. And part of it is the goodness that they're doing, even though they see the worst. They see the worst of the world, of everything. They're seeing the worst, yet they still believe in the greater good. And I think that takes a huge amount of faith. Yeah.
You know, I'm last recording, I think I cried 3 times. This today, I'm holding it together pretty well. Almost lost it there, though. Watch yourself, sister. So, how do you think you bring this philosophy to other departments? Because other departments have peer support, they have chaplains, they have CISM, they have things, but it doesn't sound like they have this magical mixture of support that you guys have there. How do we spread the word?
There's a fire department nearby, and the chief has offered to pay my officer for me, and my officer always jokes, "Oh no, I'll pay you to take her." But so there's another department that heavily, and then another one that I'm willing to work part time for 2 days in October for 4 hours, so I can do public ed at my own kids' school. But the thing they always joke about is food. So they're always like, "We're gonna have a cook-off between you and so and so," and I'm like, "Sure." But we have to stick to the same macros and it has to cost the same. And that's when everyone else gives up. They're like, oh, never mind. I was like, I don't know how. I think we're all close enough in terms of our interactions that we do always influence each other. I always say like we breathe the same air. So it's like molecules that we share, and the molecules ultimately form everything else, right? So I think there's great influence on departments positively. And sometimes when you notice a department has like, ooh, this component of their culture that rubs you the wrong way, you're reacting to that and you're adjusting accordingly. And maybe everyone does that. I feel like I'm too new in this to really like focus beyond even myself. Like I'm more worried about like, how can I do the best that I can? And if this 45-year-old firefighter is doing the best that I can, maybe it'll help other people try to reach for their best selves too. I don't have a formula. I wish I had a magic wand. Like, you know, maybe everyone could be as lucky. Like, I'm sure no work environment is perfect. Like, we're always striving towards something. And I think that in that striving or that effort is where the magic lies, is that you're trying to get better versus the minute you're like, we're the best, or is that same complacency like people talk about in any environment, medical, firematic, like that complacency creates problems. So as long as you're like, hey, what can we do better? You're trying to push it forward. I think that's probably the healthiest influence you have.
Chief, what do you think?
He's here.
I am here. It's slow. How do you embody this level of change in other agencies? Is slowly, you know. And I think one of the things that we all strive for here, it's a quote from Admiral Harper that says the most dangerous phrase in the language is because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to think, although as already said, we are not perfect. We try to look at everything that goes on and say, why are we doing it this way? And if the only answer is, well, that's because how we've always done it, we need to dig deeper. And even if those are things that, you know, the current team has initiated, we've experienced this now. We put a plan in place, put a policy in place, we look at it, we work with it. We think we can do that better. We're going to redo it again and to set the egos aside. So I think it's slowly. I really think it's slowly. But the fire service is steeped in tradition. I love the tradition. I'm a third generation firefighter. So I don't want to throw that out the window. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I do think there's a mechanism to stare down everything we look at and say, why are we doing it this way? So how do you broadcast that? I don't have the solutions either.
Zach, you're up. Nobody's solving the problem yet. What do you got?
Chief brought in a good group of people. I feel like we have a wide range of ages in the department, but we're all.
What he's saying is, I'm really old, and everyone else is younger than I am.
Okay. Okay, we got you, Zach.
So we have 19 to 45 in like line firefighters.
It's true.
Artie, you're the oldest?
I am the oldest.
Yeah. So we're all fairly new. I think everyone likes learning and teaching, and we do both a lot of here. Like everyone knows they need to learn more to be better and do better. But at the same time, we get a lot of volunteers who are like brand new, maybe not even out of like EMT school. So we end up teaching a lot and teaching courses in the department. I initially started wanting to do like lab instructor for EMT classes because selfishly, like Artie was saying earlier, it was going to help me. Like I was going to learn more by teaching them how to do things, and having to learn things at a higher level to teach it at a lower level.
So let me ask you, how do you share across the industry the importance of mission, vision, and values? And how do you share across the industry how to leave your ego at the door, and the sole pursuit is that mission, vision, and values for the agency?
Interestingly enough, I had a text conversation about this morning, about ego and about how seeking out the right experts for, to help your agency was super important, asking for help. So I guess asking for help is one of them. And then another one is just when you find something magical that's going on, I think you have to share it. And so you have something magical going on, and we're sharing it on a podcast. South Metro Fire has something magical going on, and we're sharing it. And I think little by little by little, the message gets out because people, Artie and I talked about this, the Roger Bannister effect. Once you see someone run a 4-minute mile, you realize it's possible. And so once you see an agency with a beautiful culture, you realize it's possible.
And I was just today, I trying to provide some peer support to an associate of mine that's in the fire service, not in our agency, not even really in the area. And part of his vents to me was he felt in his own agency that he has friends, he has coworkers, but none of them provide a good support network. And at any given point, an individual would place their own advancement above the support and advancement of the agency. And my response to him was, I'm truly saddened to hear that that's your experience in the fire service, because he was relating it to counseling. He went to a counselor, he's seen counseling, which I think is great. But one of the things he identified is how bad the fire service has been for him because of these things, because he doesn't have a support network there. I said, I'm truly saddened for you. I said, I am blessed with the fact that it's the complete opposite. We've endured hard times, both professionally and personally. The support network is the firehouse. I feel as though I am better, I am healthier because the fire department not somehow less healthy. And so it's just an interesting comparison. That conversation was this morning. This is an interesting comparison as to how vastly different it can be with even in their own state. Very similar department, and their experiences are very different.
Yeah. I think, and this is going to be loosely related, but hear me out. I teach motor control. And one of the things that I was teaching today was basically how the environment, the teaching environment, influences the learner, but the learner also influences the learning. The long story short is we have to take into account people's different personalities and their different approaches to everything. And I think sometimes in the fire service, we make everything so one size fits all, that usually it's like one size fits none if we're not careful.
I always think of leadership as a loop. Like, yeah, I have all these amazing leaders, but I'm also turning them into the leaders that I need them to be, right? And if I don't give them, come inside. So this is my officer for the day. He's asking if this is safe. So this is,
safe space.
yes, it's a safe space. So this is Lieutenant Gabriel. He's going to come sit here.
Hello.
And
Hi,
he's
Lieutenant
been
Gabriel.
here at the Manlius Fire Department probably the longest. And there's one other with his milkshake, Jake Seeger, and one other looking very innocent, Ryan Inglis. Yeah.
Nice to meet everyone. Nice to meet everyone. Also, just so y'all know, I think we're going to do a charity fundraiser to get Artie to eat a donut. So more to follow.
More to follow on me to eat a donut. So I bet
$2,001.
$2,001 to get me to eat a donut.
What kind of donut we talking about, though?
She learned about Glazed and Confused.
Oh, yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Glazed and Confused.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So what were you talking about? Leadership is a loop.
Why is the camera on me?
Leadership is a loop.
Because it is. So leadership is a loop. So the one, like probably last month, we had like an all staff meeting just as we're going through some transitions. And this pertains to you. So you have to come back this way. So, and the chief said, describe one word, to use a word to describe the other shifts. So we're A, B, C, and D. So I'm on B shift. Sorry, she's not right in the okay. And so Lieutenant Gabriel is the officer for C shift. And my word for C shift, which I happen to be working on today, was kind. Because, and they're all snarfing, but kindness isn't that, yeah, for no, not for C, but to describe the shift, not C is for cookie. So for me, he's the one that I go to if, hey, I don't remember how to do this skill set. Like coming out of the academy, I was like, I don't remember fire academy. I was like, I don't remember how to be a medic anymore. Like I haven't done an IV in 4 months. I couldn't even tell you how to begin to intubate. All of these things are gone. I feel like they're gone. And because of who he is and the way that he leads, he's always the one that is so approachable. He'll hold you to the best professional standard, but he'll also support you to get there. So we spent all day long, practicing, and he's like, oh, you got it. And then we did IVs on our dummy. We have a great EMS room, and we're intubating. And then that night, in the middle of the night, we had a full arrest. And the first thing I did, I turned to his senior on shift, and I was like, you know what? I haven't intubated in a while, or I haven't intubated in the field. And I was like, maybe you do it. And he's like, okay. So he does it. And then we get back to the firehouse and we're just doing the debrief. And it's like, that was the first time I intubated. So the person I'm handing it off to, because I feel like I have the skill set's very old, rusty. He was like, first time. I was like, had I but known. And everything went great. But in terms of the environment that we're in, where like as enthusiastic or as committed as I am to doing the best that I can, if somebody else can do it better, I'm going to hold them to it. No hesitation on my part. And I really like that. So yeah, even though he's here, and he didn't bring in his milkshake, he's definitely, when I think about their shift, kind was the word that
Kind and milkshakes.
Kind and milkshakes today. Milkshake.
That's 2 words.
Oh no, I can't tell that story.
All right, Artie, last time we did not get to talk about your dogs.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to talk about your dogs.
Perfect. Sunny and Stella.
Tell me everything.
Yes, they're wonderful, but they were given to me when I had a 6-month-old baby.
Thanks a lot.
Birthday gift. My husband and my daughter came home with Stella on Monday, and then on Wednesday they came back with Sunny. So this is how our family zoo began, and now we have chickens in the mix too, and the dogs get around with the chickens, and everyone's very, very cute. But Sunny and Stella aren't quite sure they're dogs, and my children aren't sure they're human. They all grew up at the same mishmash time, but they're adorable. And Sunny, Stella, it is.
And why did you get one on Monday and one on Wednesday?
So India was the one who really wanted the puppy, and so she got a puppy, and then the puppy cried through the night, and so India ended up sleeping with the puppy because I was taking care of a 6-month-old. And so my husband's solution was like, oh, well, kids need kids, so they don't cry. So just get another one. And sure enough, Sonny and Stella, they never cried again. So that was highly effective, but bizarre solution. But yeah.
The big red-haired man figured it out.
He figured it out, as he does next time.
Well, I am so excited to get to have gotten to talk to you again, and your chief and some of your coworkers and Zach and everyone. I think that we can drop the mic again, my friend, and we're just going to have to get some more phone calls going so we can chat.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. And I'll help organize this 2001 donut fundraiser.
Yeah, we need to figure out, because I think GoFundMe takes a whole big percentage out. So we got to figure out a better way.
Yeah, it's okay. And Sherman Air Services, I'm sure, would be willing and wanting to donate to this fundraiser without a doubt.
Well, let's put is that him?
No, that's not him, but he loves it.
All right, we'll talk offline and we will get the fundraiser going. We got to get it going fast, though.
Thank you so much, AZ.
Thank you, Artie. Have a wonderful day. AZ and Artie are out.
Bye.
Bye.